Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Dangle Bet Selly with Chris Meaney and the Eric Young right here on Game Plus Network. Also live on our FTN Network YouTube page. You're listening on iTunes and Spotify. We always appreciate you guys. Hopefully this isn't the last night in the NHL for quite some time, but it is Game 5 in Vegas. And the Stanley Cup will be in T-Mobile Arena tonight when the Golden Knights, who are heavily favored, take on the Florida Panthers here this evening. Dangle Bet Selly presented by PointsBet Canada. Check out the prop shop over at ftnbets.com. A new design over at ftnbets.com.
Looks so good.
Design. Looks so slick, man. Yeah, FTN Bets, FTN Daily, and ftnfantasy.com. Of course, we always reference the free prop shop and parlay calculator, free tools over at ftnbets.com. Save yourself a lot of time, a lot of cash. And we are off. Happy Tuesday, good sir. Did you have a good weekend? Are you ready to rock tonight?
I did have a great weekend. Me and Sarah were off on another trailer adventure and in Winchester, Tennessee, right on the lake. It was a really cool spot. We saw an Elvis tribute show on Saturday night, which was amazing. It was amazing. We've got 2 dogs, as you know, and it's we love living the trailer life, and they go everywhere with us in places like that. They're allowed, and we took them to restaurants, and we took them to the concert, and it's definitely the way we want to live our life. So it was great. Got to watch the games. Overtime winner by Fraggy. We haven't talked since then, but we obviously talked through text. Like we said that Fraggy's got to get going. I bet on him to score, so he made me sweat it out to overtime, but got that one. Look, I know that Vegas is a great team, and I think if I was to bet tonight that Vegas probably wins. But that's not where my heart lies for 2 reasons. One, this is a Florida Panthers show, has been for quite some time. And, I mean, it's a Vegas Golden Knights show too, let's be honest. But the other most important thing is I can't emotionally handle hockey being over. So go Cats.
Yeah, go Cat. I mean, I want to see the series extended. I would like to see Florida win tonight's game. I'm with you on that. As a show, we have been on the Vegas Golden Knights to win this series and win the Stanley Cup. I believe, I don't know what your prediction was, but I have them in the tracker. 2 you're going to play on Vegas to win the series, and I had this series going 7. Doesn't look like it is going to go 7. A couple things. We'll take a look at some of our futures that we gave here on the show. I think we're in decent shape when it comes to Jonathan Marchessault. I know we talked Aiden Hill before the Stanley Cup, before this finals, but we also talked Jonathan Marchessault to win the Conn Smythe after round 2 against the Oilers, which we have in the bet tracker, 31-1. He is minus 400 favorite as of today over at DraftKings. Let's read it off for you. Minus 400. Aiden Hill's at 9-1. Jack Eichel 12-1. Matthew Tkachuk at 18-1. Mark Stone at 20-1. Sergei Bobrovsky 25. Chandler Stevenson, more on him in a little bit, who's been fantastic here throughout the playoffs and in the finals in particular. He's at 150-1. William Karlsson there at 200-1. A couple long shots for the Panthers. If you really feel like this Florida team's going to get it done and come back, I would probably sprinkle Bob or like Barkov, because I'm not sure about the health of Matthew Tkachuk at this moment in time, even though he's been unbelievable here throughout the playoffs. So a lot.
We're sure enough to know that he's hurt, right? Like that's
he's 100% hurt. I don't even know. I can't say with confidence today that this guy is going to play, I don't know, more than 10 minutes. Right. I just don't know. He hasn't been practicing, which is obviously he's not going to practice and hurt and play. When he took that hit in game 3, he missed a bunch of time, 17 minutes or so in the first period, came back midway through the second period, ended up scoring like the game tying goal, of course, like he's done all year and throughout the playoffs. Verhaeghe goes on to win it. But Matthew Tkachuk was hardly he's shying away from the physical play. Clearly, he's bothered by the shoulder. At first, I thought maybe it was a concussion, the concussion spotter. Paul Maurice talked about taking him off the ice, the spotter. But, he's doing the whole shoulder movement things, with the trainers. You can definitely tell. And then it was confirmed, in game 4, late in the third period. I mean, he was just sitting on the bench for a majority of the third period, saving his energy for the final couple shifts there. Yeah, so he's not. I mean, like you said before we got on, everybody's dealing with injuries, but clearly he's dealing with something significant.
Yeah.
I think Montour and Barkov are also dealing with some injuries. Anthony Duclair is iffy for tonight as well. He had the neck injury. So Florida's certainly battling, and Vegas. Hey, I give the Panthers so much credit in game 4 because Vegas came out exactly how I thought they would.
Yep.
They came out hungry, hard. They took a 3-0 lead early. And at that moment, when they took the 3-0 lead, I just thought like it was completely over. It was going to be a rout. But Florida managed to come back and make a game of it. So they are hanging around. You've heard a lot of the commentators talk about how they just won't die. They won't go away. But, man, their backs are really up against it tonight. I want to say what up to everyone in the house here. Brian Rose. What up, Meaney? What up, BY? Happy game 5. Maybe the last night of puck. Ugh. Hope not, Brian, but welcome in. Seth is in the house. Good morning, fellas. At the gym as we speak, wearing the Dangle Bet Selly t-shirt.
It's a comfortable t-shirt, man.
Doing squats. Oh, man, my goodness. Troy in the house. Man City are terrible winners. Soccer chat there. What 5 teams do you think are most likely to break up their core and trade players away this summer? These are questions that we definitely appreciate. These are the things that we're going to have to bring up, and we'll discuss. Probably hit on that question here in a little bit. Troy, also, if you guys have any fantasy hockey questions, keeper league decisions, we are going to be with you until the end of June. Dangle Bet Sully. So even if this Stanley Cup is raised tonight, we'll be with you on Thursday, and we'll be with you until the Cup is, or until the end of June. We'll be talking about things like free agency, the NHL draft, rankings ahead of next season, something we did last year, maybe top 12 at each position, maybe some buy low, sell high candidates in dynasty leagues and keeper leagues. Because at the end of the day, we do have bet in the name of the show, but this is a fantasy hockey show as well. So, and we should do this. This is a good call. This is something we're going to do with the listeners. Let's have a Dangle Bet Selly fantasy hockey league. We can draft together.
We got to do this next year.
Maybe live draft, and we'll have some people. Absolutely. We will definitely do it. Hammerhead, John Marchese in the house. Good morning, fellas. Good morning to you as well. Matt H. also hearing it's a bad shoulder separation for Kachuk. Absolutely. I think it's got to be. What do you think as a guy who's been through some injuries and, powering through things in your career? I think like torn labrum, like some sort of tear in the shoulder for sure.
Yeah, it could be a torn labrum because you can still do things, right? Like it's a pain tolerance thing. And that I think it's something like that. Quite obviously a separation, low grade separation. It's obviously nothing broken. I mean, if you've ever done anything to your shoulder, and I have, it is excruciating. And it's hard to grip. It's hard to lift your arm. It's hard to do much of anything. I dealt with a bit of a shoulder injury last year. People don't know, like there is no off season in pro wrestling. There are no days off. There is no time to sit out and not work out and not be ready. So I just had to work out and push through it. And that's what I did. Obviously, in wrestling, there's lots of ways you can work around it. In hockey, there is not. Nobody on the Vegas Golden Knights is going to be taking it easy on him or avoiding his arm because it's hurt. No. They'll probably target it, honestly. And that sounds sick and twisted, but that's what they'll do. And that's why I know people like me and fantasy people get mad about lower body, upper body. Well, they do that to protect the players because these guys are all savages. They're looking for an edge, and going after a guy's shoulder that's already hurt is an edge. And he's the heartbeat of this team. Like you said, I believe that he suits up. I believe that he plays, and I believe that he'll play a decent amount because he knows this is it. And him just trying, I don't think he's going to play 25 minutes or his regular 22, 23 minutes. But I think he will be out there as often as the shoulder allows him. And I believe it could be in the narrative of this series and of this game is these players are going to want to play for him. The rest of the league hates his guts, but what I can tell you for certain is every player on that Florida Panthers team loves this guy. And they're going to bend over backwards and do things to push through because he's, leading by example, I guess, if you want to say that. So I think emotionally they're going to be there. Can they beat Vegas? I don't know. Can they beat Vegas with a hobbled Matthew Tkachuk? I think it's unlikely. But it wouldn't surprise me if Florida pushes back and wins this game tonight. They've been in this position before. Paul Maurice has said it in a couple of his press conferences. You know what I mean? Like, they've been here before. They know they've had this kind of pressure before in these playoffs. I mean, they've been playing do or die hockey for 3.5 months. Eventually that wick's going to run out, right? Like, it's how long can you push? Right. But I got a sneaky gut feeling tonight's not the end. And I think Barkov's going to show up in a big way.
I think that's your heart talking. Yeah, Barkov. I mean,
I always follow my heart, which is why I'm not a very good gambler.
It's clear though, like a healthy Matthew Tkachuk or not, like this Vegas team is just so much better.
They're so good.
They're so much better than the Florida Panthers right now, and yeah, they.
I think it may not be so much better. It's depth, right? Like the main players being banged up. I think them missing Luosterainen, I think it's obvious that he's like just was this integral piece to this team, and not having him has affected them, right? It's clear that Paul Maurice, and probably for good reason, doesn't trust his fourth line like Cassidy does. And I mean, Nicholas Roy is a top 6 player on any other team in the league, right? Like, he's a really, really good player.
I was trying to confirm this comment from Matt. I'm not saying that you're wrong here. Doesn't mean he won't play, but he didn't go with the team back to Vegas. I didn't get any confirmation on that. I mean, I believe you. I know you're not just spewing information. I know Florida's kind of keeping it hush-hush about what's going to happen here this evening. No update, on Tkachuk or Anthony Duclair. Listen, yeah, I mean, he's going to play. If he's there, he's going to suit up, whether he's on the bench, like for some moral support, some shifts here and there. But you're right. I mean, he's not going to play 25 minutes because he's played the fewest minutes that he's out of all the playoff rounds. Yep. His ice time in this finals is the fewest, even before Game 4. Of course, he's also, had like 50 penalty minutes. So that's part of it as well. When you got a 10-minute misconduct every other game, you're not going to be on the ice. But his ice time
to accrued ice time when you're in the locker room.
Yeah, his ice time is significantly lower than other rounds. And I believe that Bob is going to come up big tonight, but man, Vegas is going to be flying. Right? The Cup is going to be in the building. They're at home. They're just a better 5-5 squad than them. And one thing that we can talk about throughout this entire series is that Florida still has not been disciplined enough. Like, I know we had a comment before the series started,
right? In any way.
No, he let in a couple weak goals, but he's been good. He came back to form, I'd say, like for Game 3 and definitely Game 4. He's made some really, really, key saves, especially late in games. Like,
not on him at all. Undisciplined play, and on both sides. Like, when someone hears undisciplined, I'm not just talking about penalties. Like, go back and watch those. You're not going to do that. You're not crazy like me, but go back and watch those games. They're running around in the defensive end like their hair's on fire, right? Like, they're chasing.
I could just picture a couple moments where, Game 2 with Lundberg, like when he cross-checked Marchessault in the face to start the game. What the heck was that? Vegas gets, Marchessault scores the goal to start. And then there was some really soft calls, I think, in Game 3 in particular, but still like some undisciplined, just carelessness from the Florida Panthers, penalties 200 feet away from their goal, like those kind of things you just can't have, in the playoffs, especially in the Stanley Cup Finals. But I want to go back to that. Where did you say you and Sarah went? Winchester Fieldville? I thought that was like a made up name in Mr. Deeds. You remember it? Do you know Mr. Deeds? Back in the day when she's like, just made up Winchester Tinfieldville Drive. You were just making up names. No,
Winchester, Tennessee. It's about an hour and a half from where I live. It's a little southern town on a lake. Tim's Ford.
Did you spot DeAndre Hopkins in Tennessee? Apparently he's visiting.
No, but there is lots of buzz about that. And
interesting.
Dude, he's like one of my favorite wide receivers ever. Like, I don't think he's DeAndre Hopkins anymore, but
right.
It would
It'd
be
be a
cool
good
for him to
get.
be a Titan. Yeah.
It'd be cool for him to be a Titan. I'm sure you would rock the jersey. You'd get the jersey, no question.
I love jerseys. I think football jerseys are they're just so uncomfortable and they're so hot, right? Like it's a lot of the sport is played in warm weather, and I can't wear them. I'll die. Which is why I own like 40 of those tank tops for hockey season.
Troy says, how many hockey jerseys are you guys buying this upcoming season? Well, it's the last year of the Adidas sponsorship. I don't think you need any more jerseys,
I don't need
Eric.
it.
I think you.
My wife will cut my
have
throat in my
enough.
sleep. I've got so many.
Troy says is going to have to buy around 4 or 5. I'd say you're gonna. What
I
are
say
you
I'm
gonna
not
get?
gonna, but I know
Blue
that I will.
Jackets or Severson Blue Jackets? Maybe Troy's gonna get a new Blue Jackets jersey there for you. So back to the game. These odds have changed considerably since last night. I think I'm seeing now, using our parlay calculator, if you want to back the Golden Knights, minus 170 is the shortest odds I'm seeing. That's over at DraftKings. I see PointsBet has minus 195, a bunch of minus 180s in there. FanDuel, BetMGM, BetRivers hanging minus 175. And the total of the game tonight has stayed true at 5.5. So there's some 6 out there. 5.5 minus 120 over at Caesars, and then a few books offering plus 100, plus 102 for the over 6 goals here tonight. These are the Conn Smythe odds that we alluded to via DraftKings. Our guy, Jonathan Marchessault, minus 400 to win the award, and Aiden Hill there at 9-1, Jack Eichel at 12-1, Matthew Tkachuk at 18-1, Mark Stone at 20-1, and then Sergei Bobrovsky sitting there at 25-1. If the Panthers do win, I would imagine it would be Bob, considering the health and the status of Matthew Tkachuk. Some of our futures that we had, I don't know if we still have them here in the back end. I think we did get rid of them, but one that we did have was Jonathan Marchessault to lead the series in goals at plus 650. We had Jonathan Marchessault to lead the series in points at plus 7 or plus 13, actually 13-1, excuse me, 1,300. And just taking a look here now, man, on the Florida side of things, nobody has more than 3 points. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about Anton Lundell. Paul Maurice made a nice little coaching change in game 4, moved Anton Lundell up to that line. We talked before game 3 about Verhaeghe, starting to get him going. How can you get him going? Find a way to get him on that first power play, maybe put him back with Bennett and Tkachuk, and they did. It worked out. He scored a goal. And I thought Anton Lundell, along with Barkov, you're talking Barkov. You expect Barkov to have a big night tonight. I'm with you.
I do.
I thought he was all over the ice, and we got some shot attempt stuff from him in a little bit, but he had 10 shot attempts in game 4, and he was really playing with an edge. There's no question. Marchessault does lead the series in points with 7. He's got 1 more than Mark Stone, so we're going to have to sweat this one out tonight. He does have the 4 goals, so he's got a 2-goal cushion on several players. But if Mark Stone and Chandler Stevenson continue to cook, we may not get that Marchessault, and that would be a pain in the butt. But these are the shot attempt leaders from the last game at 5-5, courtesy of Natural Stat Trick. How about Barkov? 10 attempts, 6 shots, 2 scoring chances. Anton Lundell, 8 shot attempts, 3 shots on net, 4 scoring chances. Carter Verhaeghe with these 7 attempts, 3 scoring chances, 3 pucks on net. Alex Pietrangelo continues to do this, and that's why I continued to take shots on his shot prop. He actually is tied with Jonathan Marchessault for the most shot attempts in this series on the Vegas side with 22. They both have 22, only 9 on net, but 22 attempts. Stone has 19 attempts and 13 shots. Chandler Stevenson has 18 attempts on 12 shots. Brent Howden was second in game 5 for the Vegas Golden Knights at 5-5 with 6 attempts. All of them scoring chances, just 2 on net. And then Jonathan Marchessault there with the 4 scoring chances, 3 shots and 6 attempts. On the Florida side of things, Brendan Montour leads the entire finals with 31 attempts. He's got 2 goals. He's played 101 minutes. The next closest guy in terms of ice time, well, I guess it would be his teammate in Gustav Forsling, but to put it into perspective, nobody on Vegas has played more than 90 minutes in the Stanley Cup Finals. Pietrangelo's right at 90. Brendan Montour is at 101. 31 attempts, 13 pucks on net, 30 attempts for Sam Bennett, 12 pucks on net. And then Barkov and Verhaeghe also have 27 attempts as well. So if we're looking for some shot props, I think you continue to go with the guys that are getting the ice time. I know Bennett didn't work out last game, but like Bennett, Montour, Barkov, and I want to give a little bit of love to Chandler Stevenson. What have you noticed from him here? I mean, he's flying up and down the ice in this finals, man.
Dude, he looks it's crazy, right? Like he's so good, and it has been good for a long time. And then he'll there's times where he would like kind of lose his consistency, and he'd float down to the kind of the bottom six and then back up. Him playing with Mark Stone, I mean, it's a match made in heaven, right? Like a strong, big-bodied center that can really wheel and carry the puck. Yeah. Slow motion Mark Stone skating with cinder blocks on his feet, like still somehow one of the best players on the ice. It's impressive, man. It's impressive when you really understand how NHL-wise, how poor of a skater Mark Stone is and how effective he's been. It's crazy impressive, right? Like crazy impressive. He has to play wing. He can't play center because he wouldn't be able to keep up with the pace of today's game. But man, he's such a great player. And I mean, I know they've mentioned it, but like, let's not forget this guy's had 2 back surgeries this year. He just came off of a back surgery. I've never had back surgery, but I know that back can be a very, very tricky thing. I know, like I get lower back problems from tight hamstrings or something wrong with my hip, and it's hard to do anything. It is. He's playing hockey at the highest level possible, and it's impressive. I love Mark Stone. I love watching him celebrate. I love watching him celebrate when other people score. Like I want to enjoy anything half as much as Mark Stone enjoys scoring goals.
Well, it's going to be great to see him lift the cup. Right? He's going to lift that Stanley Cup. He's going to be amped as well. Who's going to give that cup to? I hope that's another Marchessault bet we have at plus 500 for him. I think it's
Marchessault or Riley Smith. It's one of the two.
It's Marchessault. He's been so good. He's been so good throughout the playoffs. He's now leading the playoffs in points, I do believe. So yeah, it could be a great day for FTN with Marchessault if he gets that cup first and wins that Conn Smythe. It's gonna be like a 30-unit day here. Chandler Stevenson. Oh, you were talking about a couple things I wanted to say. One, you were spot on about just the way it is for hockey with Tkachuk being hurt. Like Alex Pietrangelo's gone out of his way to give him a couple shots for sure, and that's going to continue.
Yep.
Also, you talked about how nobody likes Matthew Tkachuk, which is probably true. Like you respect him, but playing against him, you don't.
Oh, players respect him and want him on the team, but they hate his guts.
Did you see? I forget. I think it was maybe from TSN.ca. I did not know this, but so Brady Tkachuk is getting married this summer. Yeah, and Matthew is going to be his best man. But Mark Stone's in the winning party as well as a groomsman, so that should be. And Brady's going to just stir the pot too, right? It's going to be like some awkward silence and just like it's like. So Matthew, what do you think about Mark Stone getting the best of you? Dude's not even going to be able to lift his arm. He's probably going to be in a sling for the wedding. He's going to be in massive pain. But anyways, Chandler Stevenson, 1.5 shots, minus 115. We had for game 4. He had 3 shots in the 2 goals. He's had at least 3 shots in 3 straight games, 3, 4, and 4. He's not a big shooter, but when you look at the game log, you see like 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, several in a row against the Oilers. The way that he started that series, he opened up with a goal in game 1. He had 3 shots in game 2, 2 in game 3, 2 in game 4. So I just think with his speed, I'm going to take a shot on this. It's minus 130. It's probably my favorite bet of the day. I think overall my favorite bet of the day would be Vegas to win this game tonight and close it out. But minus 175 is not really worth the squeeze. But minus 130, Chandler Stevenson over 1.5 shots. So I'm going to ride this one out. And something that we've been talking about for the Bet365 users, this stuff just correlates. Now, last game was the first time it didn't work out for Eichel and Marchessault. Marchessault picked up an assist. Eichel didn't do anything. What a bum. He's been fantastic, obviously. But another kind of like 2-leg same game parlay would be Stevenson and Mark Stone plus 125 for these guys to pick up a point. 5 and 5 together, power play time together. So that's one parlay that I like. And then I'll go back to Marchessault and Eichel. This is the shortest odds I've seen throughout the Stanley Cup Finals, plus 105. It's still on the plus side of things. So that's the way that I would go as well. How do you feel about a goal scorer? Or what way are you going to go here tonight? Who finds the back of the net?
Yeah, like I said, Florida, I'm going Barkov. He's the captain. He's obviously a super highly competitive guy. You mentioned it in the last game. He was all over the place, firing the puck. Nothing really went. But I think with Tkachuk down, he knows he's going to have to step up and do something special tonight. And I believe that he has the ability to do that. DraftKings has got a boost, a 200+ boost. And I'm going Alexander Barkov to score the first goal with that boost. And I know that the odds of that are slim to none, but in my gut and in my heart, that's what I believe is going to happen. I'm probably going to bet on him to score as well. I think I'll also sprinkle some on Marchessault, though, obviously the odds aren't good because he's, right now the favorite for the Conn Smythe and just shooting the lights out. I'd probably put a little something on Eichel. I mean, he's played. This is like hockey geek, whatever, but like you could give the Conn Smythe to him and I wouldn't be upset. Everyone else would be upset because
I think a lot of people are actually making a case for Eichel, and I think it's fair. Like he's been, like Marchessault scoring these goals, but who's
hockey,
setting him up?
He's doing all of it, right? Like, yes, Marchessault is finishing it, and you can't win games without a guy that can finish it. But the zone entries, holding the puck, the precision passing, like all of this stuff is happening because Marchessault is playing with Jack Eichel. Again, it's the argument of Crosby and Kunitz, Kunitz is no good. Well, Kunitz is a great player, and it's not easy to play with these high-level guys, right? Because they're just thinking the game on a different level. Marchessault he's got that like Brett Hall thing where like he just finds this quiet piece of ice and disappears, and Eichel finds him and he rips it in the net. I mean, those guys don't grow on trees. But certainly neither do people like Jack Eichel, man. It's such a cool story to see him thriving like this. Such a fun player to watch. To me, the most unique skating style in the NHL and just insane power and speed. And it doesn't even look like he's trying. And it's really cool to watch. So that would be my pick. So Barkov, I'm going to Bennett. It's frustrating. I put that Bennett would lead the series in points, and looking at his shot totals, that easily could have happened. But Aiden Hill's been really good, and the defensive structure of Vegas just clearing out everything in front of the net, and it's really hard for Florida to get anything to go.
That's one thing I've really noticed as well. I mean, when you got all your 6 defenders are over 6 feet tall, I mean, the structure that they play, they play really good, a really good brand of 5-on-5 hockey. You and I have just
hard to get them to the ice.
Yeah, they just block everything. They get in all these lanes. I mean, Florida's trying to. I think the Panthers should shoot a little bit more. We heard Matthew Tkachuk say that a couple games ago. Like, need to shoot more and more. I feel like they've kind of passed some opportunities off. Barkov in particular, before Game 4, where he had the 10 attempts. I mean, he was really kind of taking matters in his own hand in that game. And as a captain, you kind of expect that sort of leadership. And I kind of expect it again tonight. Like, he's a guy that's going to heavily be leaned on here tonight, especially if Matthew Tkachuk can't go and Duclair's iffy and all these other guys that are dealing with things. Like Barkov's a guy that I think is going to, get double shifted. They just can't match. That's one thing. Another thing I've noticed is that the bottom 6 does not match up with the bottom 6 in Vegas. And one thing that Paul Maurice did, and I don't know if if he'll start this way tonight, but I mean, he really loaded up. I mean, Sam Reinhart's been playing on the third line for a majority of the season, majority of the playoffs. And you want to get Barkov going. No disrespect to Duclair and Nick Cousins, but those can't be his wingers. You know what I mean? Like, he cannot be playing with Nick Cousins tonight at 5-5. If you want,
Nick Cousins is a very effective player, but he is not a top 6 guy. Come on.
No, there's no question.
He didn't play in the top 6 when he played in Nashville.
He didn't play in the top 6. He played in Montreal, and there's certainly a lot of opportunity for him to do so.
Yeah, I think we'll at least see Anton Liddell with Barkov and potentially Reinhart as the game goes on, or maybe early on. But I wanted to give a little bit of love to Anton Liddell as well, because I mean, you saw him on that board. Oh, let's give some love to our girl Abby in the house. Look at these two rocking it today. The new edition of FTN Network, and we're super thrilled to have her. She's fantastic.
Awesome
she knows a lot about sports and the ins and outs about hockey as well, covering the Hurricanes for years. So look for her on our FTN Network YouTube page, on Game Plus Network, doing some videos with her as well. And she's going to join us next week on this show. So it'll be a 3-person show. Everybody, please give Abby a follow and a little warm welcome here, as we are really looking forward to chopping it up with her very soon. Abby, tell us who you think wins tonight, since you're hanging out with us as well. Lindell, Anton Lindell. I know I was just rattling off some shot attempts and some shot props and things like that, but man, 8 attempts for this guy in the last game and 4 scoring chances, which led all Panther skaters according to Natural Stat Trick, and he put 3 pucks on net. His shot props slightly juiced at 1.5 minus 160. The PrizePicks users, for the underdog users, for the Bet365 users, you could do. This is what we did in game 4. Let's see if we can do the same thing. Anton Liddell over 1.5 shots. Where was Riley Smith at? Or Chandler Stevenson if you want. I think Chandler Stevenson's fine as a single bet at minus 130. But what about this? Riley Smith over 1.5 shots, Anton Liddell over 1.5 shots plus 130. Like, Lindell is he's going to get a big boost again tonight, right? This guy's going to be linked to Barkov.
And he should. He's been awesome all playoffs.
Yeah. Abby says Vegas. I love John Marchese. Abby says Vegas, and then John Marchese says Abby says Florida.
We know who bet on Florida. I'm with you, John. I don't want hockey to end. I want Florida to win tonight, and I think they could do it.
Is that the deal here tonight? Like, this whole show is just on Florida so we can see more hockey? Is that? I mean, I'm fine with it if that's where we're going. But
I don't have a dog in the hunt. I don't want you to bring up our brackets ever again. Like, it wasn't even close. And oh my God, I don't think I've ever come close on any one of those. It's impossible. Sure, hockey is chaos. But the truth is don't pull it up. It's awful. But I think this is good for hockey. I think we talked a little bit before the series of people complaining that it's Florida and Vegas and the ratings are going to be down. Well, you idiots are all wrong. And I'm glad that you're wrong, because they're breaking records for viewership. And I'm happy about it. And I said that if this does well and rates well, it's good for the NHL. It's good for your team, for people to watch the Stanley Cup playoffs. And if you're a hockey fan, boo-hooing and betting against one of these two teams and saying that nobody cares, it's wrong. 2, it's an ignorant stance to take. And 3, if you like hockey, you should be supporting hockey. Because if the Stanley Cup playoffs, which is the point of the whole league, doesn't have viewership and doesn't do well, they don't sign these $100 million deals with ESPN and so on, and we're watching on the Outdoor Network like we were 15 years ago. That was a dark time for me. I was poor, and it was hard to find that channel anywhere. So let's not go back to that ever.
Abby says, of course she wants more hockey. She's just a smart girl. She's just thinking who is going to win tonight. It's going to be Vegas. We have a comment here from I might butcher this. Cordasius Alexander. I tried. Bear with me. I did what I could. I've done worse. Florida has been outplayed since the Carolina series. Were they outplayed in the Carolina series?
I don't think they were outplayed. I think it was very even in that series. Like Brindamore said, it could have gone either way.
It could have gone either way.
It comes down to the reality is the Carolina Hurricanes turned into who they are. They don't have guys that can finish. Right, they matched them in scoring chances. The goaltending was fine. It was a very even series, but in the end, they have Eichel and Marchessault and Stevenson and Stone finishing the plays, and their 2 top finishers were injured and not in the lineup. And they could have done something to replace Pacioretty. They had enough time and they chose not to.
Yeah, I mean, tough. It's really tough. You don't expect, to lose Andrei Svechnikov, and then you acquire Max Pacioretty, a proven goal scorer in the league, and you only have him for a minute or so. Yeah, outshot every game. I understand what you're saying there, for sure. I mean, the series could have gone either way, like Rod Brennan.
Carolina outshoots everyone because they shoot the puck from everywhere. It doesn't. It's not a telling stat.
Well, Bobrovsky was fantastic in that.
I mean, lights out in the Maple Leafs lost because of Bobrovsky. I don't care what anyone says.
Debatable.
He was unbelievable. He was even better versus the Maple Leafs than he was versus Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, he's been great. He's been great since.
He's been great.
He's been fantastic. He's been one of the biggest storylines, I think, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? The $10 million backup goalie who came in down 3-1 against the Boston Bruins, who didn't start, came in against Boston. So, yeah, I get it. It was a tight series. Carolina can't score. Like, that's just they just can't score goals. We'll see what they do in the offseason. I think we'll see a big shakeup actually with the Hurricanes. I think that they just have to find some. I think they just have to find some offensive firepower. And, it really will be a wild offseason because we can bring this up again. This is probably the last time we dive into this sort of stuff. Is we can just wrap up tonight. Like, let's wrap up this conversation, get into maybe some more free agency talk, and kind of get to the question that Troy mentioned as well with maybe some massive shakeups. So I'll just recap with what I'm going to have going on tonight. I do like Vegas to get it done. I mean, whatever you want to do with that. I don't think it's going to be a puck line thing, but I do think that Vegas is going to hoist the Stanley Cup here tonight. I like Chandler Stevenson over 1.5 shots minus 130. That's over at DraftKings. 3, 4, and 4 in the last couple of games. I like Barkov over 2.5 shots at minus 136. The 10 attempts tells me a lot from game 4. Extra ice time for him for sure. Whether Tkachuk plays or not, he's not going to be full go. Some of these defensemen, I just can't stay away from. I can't shy away, even though it's kind of been hit or miss. But if you're looking for a plus money play tonight, I mean, again, just looking at the last game in terms of shot attempts, Alex Pietrangelo played 24 minutes. Nobody else played more than 20 minutes in that game. He's getting a ton of ice time, even though he's not on that first power play unit. And he's just getting a lot of attempts from the back end. According to Natural Stat Trick, he's right there with Jonathan Marchessault with 22 attempts each. And he's played 22 more minutes than Marchessault. So over 2.5 shots at plus 125. Shea Theodore is over 2.5 shots at plus 126. You get the power play time with him. I'm hoping that Florida can keep their heads, because if Vegas gets up by a couple goals and they start getting frustrated, this game could be over in a hurry, because that's all we've seen. Like Toronto, like the way that Florida played against Boston and Toronto and Carolina, it kind of baited some of those players and some of those teams and things where it's just not happening in Vegas. They're not getting baited into a face wash or, a stick to the groin after the whistle. I like Eichel for an assist tonight. You've been talking about how good his game is. I know a lot of people are making a case for him for Conn Smythe. Majority of those goals from Jonathan Marchessault wouldn't happen if it wasn't beautiful, primary assists from Eichel. He's got the 4 helpers here in the playoffs, which does lead everybody. Actually, got 5. Excuse me. He's got 5 assists. He's minus 108, and I think Stone is in play for an assist as well. And then Bennett 3.5 shots. You guys want picks? We got picks. It could be the last game of the night, so we got lots of stuff. I got one more for you, because we've been doing the same game parlay from FanDuel. This is an 8-legger, guys. An 8-legger. Here we go. Let's get truly psycho here. And it's not that bad. All these guys for at least 2 shots. Caveat is that they have to get it done in 60 minutes. So if this game goes to overtime, the shots after won't count. Carter Verhaeghe, Brennan Montour, Alexander Barkov, Anton Lundell. Those are the Florida dudes. All 2 shots. Shea Theodore, Alex Pietrangelo, Chandler Stevenson, Jonathan Marchessault. It doesn't seem that bad, does it?
No.
That pays 11-1. 11-1, 8 legs. Seems like a lot, because it is. But just 2 shots for these guys. Verhaeghe, Montour, Barkov, Theodore, Pietrangelo, Lundell, Stevenson, and Jonathan Marchessault. If you are uneasy about Stevenson, you could do Eichel for 2 shots. I don't even have Bennett on there. Like Bennett should be on there. My goodness.
Yeah, Bennett should be on there.
I add Bennett. That turns out to 13-1. An 8-legger. You know what? 8-leggers proceed with caution.
We're known for it.
We are known for it. Proceed with caution. Like, don't be putting a ton of hard-earned bucks on this. That'll probably be a full unit play for me. We did hit a 13-1, Alexander. If you're just coming stumbling across the show, this is why we're doing this again. We're trying our luck one more time. We hit a 13-1 where we had 8 legs, and 3 of the 8 guys had to have 3 shots. The guys that I would bank on 3 shots would be Bennett, Barkov, Montour, and I don't know if I'm there on Marchessault, but the other guys will get the 2. All right, so we're doing that. Wrap up, score prediction. I know you gave a couple goal scores, but what do you think the score is going to be tonight? And not your heart talking, your head.
Okay. Well, then I have to give 2 different answers.
All right, I'll take 2 different answers.
My heart says 4-2 Florida, and my head says 3-1 for Vegas.
3-1 for Vegas. Okay. Over saves, overtime. Everyone's kind of just giving some plays here. This is what I really like about Vegas, and we've touched on it before, is that they got 2 skilled players with like a grinder in every line. Like Barbashev has been so good throughout the playoffs. He's just the perfect fit next to Eichel and next to Marchessault. Howden, it looks good again with Chandler Stevenson and Mark Stone. And then, you got guys next to the Misfits and Carlson and Riley Smith. It's all good tonight. Eichel first goal scorer here tonight. Vegas puck line. Don't overthink it. It may be my pick that I give out PointsBet today. I see y'all got the PointsBet Canada sponsor Touche. We do appreciate the shout out there to PointsBet. Javi saying she's just a realist here. And away we go. So Daily Handle in the house. Good morning. Nice to see you jump in here in the last few minutes of the show. Great insight. Appreciate you. Appreciate the comments here from you as well. 5-2 Vegas final. Man, block shots. Vegas is blocking everything. It is true. They really are. All right, so we'll get out of here on this. Is another quick look at free agency. And this is why I probably think there will be some massive shakeups, because there's not a lot of marquee players to go after here. Like Kane has got the reported off-season hip surgery. He's going to miss some time. Ryan O'Reilly, Vladimir Tarasenko, Tyler Bertuzzi, Max Pacioretty, Jordan Staal, Jonathan Taves, Sean Monahan, Jason Zucker, Barbashev. Man, Vegas is going to want to do what they can to keep this guy. Jonathan Duran, Max Domi, Evan Rodriguez, Michael Bunting, JVR. I think the most appealing name on this list, honestly, for me, maybe Tyler Bertuzzi, the way that he played. I think the Bruins are going to try to find a way to keep him, EY, in that lineup. He just fit. He's just like a Bruin. Like looking at him and the style of play, the way that he plays, he just seems like a Bruin. It's almost like a match made in heaven for those two.
Yeah, great fit for sure. Patrick Kane, obviously a massive name, but having that hip surgery, like players are just never the same, right? It takes them at least a full year. And with his age, I would imagine it takes longer. Someone is going to go for him, right? Like, I mean, just because of the possibility. You're all this news coming out. It appears that nobody wants to play in Canada anymore, right? I mean, a bunch of guys in Winnipeg, a bunch of guys, guys in Calgary, guys in, everybody wants out. And the Winnipeg Jets, man, they're in a bad place. They're in a really bad place. But if you think about it, like the Winnipeg Jets have been an ultra competitive team for over half a decade, right? Like, but that core has aged out, and the locker room is weird. Connor Hellerbuck is older, but I still think he's got several good years left in him. He wants out. It's going to be a wild offseason, and I think we're going to see a lot of trades because, like you said, the free agency list is not bountiful or super impressive. But I think we see a lot of trades. How much is Barbashev going to get paid? Right? Like every game, like you add another $1 million to his contract.
Would 5 be fair? I think I'd pay him 5. It seems like a slight overpayment because he's not like a 25, 30 goal scorer. Man, if they
I
can lock
think
him up under
someone's going to pay.
then
Some
that'd
team
be-
is going to pay him more than $5 million.
Man, the way that he's been playing, though, my goodness, like he just finishes every check. He's had so many like big hits. I mean, he's contributing. He doesn't
Plays
look
center,
out of place
plays
like I said with
wing.
those two guys. Yeah,
Can play on the top line. He's shown. Can play on the fourth line. He's shown.
he's going to flirt with 20 points in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
He's a
Like,
playoff competitor,
what a-
which I mean, always gets paid.
What a great get!
No
Right?
way.
Although
I bet it's going to be over 6
buy at the deadline. You over 6? That'd be it's tough.
I'm not saying
right?
it's a good idea.
No, I know. I hear you. Yeah.
There's some old GM that's like watching him do what he's doing in the playoff and just drooling. So,
well, when you look across the league for years, I mean, you can't build your team through free agency. You just overpay for certain guys. You got to try to build within. I mean, look at some of the cup, winners of late. Even Colorado, like that was a core that they drafted. It took some time. You look at Tampa Bay, that's a core that they drafted. Even those Kings and Bruins teams and Hawks, when they were just trading cups for like 6 or 7 years, those were all like core drafted type players as well. And all the big additions, like Timo Meier, and I know that they're going to lock him up most likely RFA, but Timo Meier and then the Tarasenko and Canes, and then the Bruins adding Orlov and Bertuzzi, like Ryan O'Reilly, all those moves like didn't matter at all. It's like Barbashev was the biggest pickup. On the way out, Troy says, what 5 teams do you think are most likely to break up their core and trade players this summer? And some teams.
Winnipeg is top of the list, and I'm not guessing. They've already said.
No. Yeah.
Hellebuck, Scheifele, and Wheeler all said we want out of Winnipeg.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know why anybody
wants out as well. Whew, rough go. Oh my goodness. I hope they don't move again. It's going to take them back as a franchise if they lose like 2 of those 4 or 5 players.
Yeah.
And I think it's proceed with caution too. If you're trading a lot of assets for Connor Hellebuck, I love the guy. I think he's fantastic. I still believe that he's a top 5 goalie in the league today, but he's also now over 30, and it's tough to be trading a goalie like trade some assets for like those Marner, William Nylander for Hellebuck. Stop it with that. Like that just seems silly. The Leafs, people are looking for you to say that answer. We only got 2 minutes here. Are the Leafs a team that trades one of those 4 or 5 core players? Is a Nylander at the door?
I think business wise, they have to because of the no trades, right? They don't want to be in a position where they have no power again, right? It's a bad position to be. Trading away any of these guys is foolish. And Treliving said it in his press conference. Players like that, elite players, don't grow on trees. Like you could spend your whole life as a GM searching for one of those guys, and they've got 4 of them. And I get that they haven't won in the playoffs, but like you got to get to the playoffs. So it's tough to say, man. It's tough to say. I think Nylander probably doesn't survive it, and I think his contract is the best right now out of the 4. Can't trade Tavares. Won't trade.
Max Domi's not on that list. Max Domi, we're fans, Abby, of Max Domi as well. We were really drinking the Dallas Stars Kool-Aid when they acquired Max Domi and Evgeny Dadonov. Really thought that it gave them, 3 lines that could score. Domi had a great season. He had a really nice bounce back season. He got a lot of ice time, more than he's ever really had. And it did seem like in his career, that outlier season, the 72, 73 points with Montreal, that would be the outlier. I don't know if he's a 70-point guy, but man, he's a guy that can, fill a lot of roles for you, can kill some penalties, can play on the power play. He comes with an edge. He can be a top 6 player. He can play on the wing, down the middle of the ice. Domi would be a really nice addition, I think, for some teams as well. And I think that's it. We're going to get out of here. We do have to say goodbye to the Game Plus Network crew and to you guys as well. Marner could be traded. Daily Handle says Nylander is probably gone as well. We'll see what kind of moves the Leafs do make with Treliving now. I think calling the shots, or is Brendan Moore? Is he just the puppet for not Brendan Moore, for Shanahan? We'll see. One more comment here on the way out. Winnipeg was so painfully cold. I've never experienced anything like it before in my life. It is.
I don't know why anyone lives there.
I think it's the windiest place in the world. I did read, definitely in North America, like around the corner of the arena. I have some buddies that live there. I've been to a game as well. It is absolutely chilling. It is super cold. Bills, AFC champs. We'll have some football talk on Game Plus Network in a little bit. We will be with you through the end of June for sure. Whether that cup is raised tonight or not, we will be back on Thursday. We are going to, start to switch gears and talk more off-season stuff, maybe trade candidates, fantasy hockey stuff, some buy low, some sell highs, some dynasty stuff, and some rankings, things like that. But the Bills are solid. We'll be talking about the Buffalo Bills, although it is a much improved AFC East division, and the AFC conference is absolutely loaded in the NFL. Look for set, bet, spike to come your way in the near future. EY, it's a pleasure, dude. Hopefully we are talking about Game 6 on Thursday. If not, well, we'll just be talking about a Stanley Cup parade on the strip of Las Vegas. I think that'd be pretty cool. From the Eric Young, Chris Meaney, thanks so much, guys. Give Abby a follow. We'll talk to you guys soon. Good luck. Cheers.